You are listening to Aftersight. This recording is intended solely for individuals who are blind or have low vision.
Thank you for joining us for the Thursday reading of the August edition of the Senior Beacon. My name is Donna Gill. Today we will be reading from the following main articles. From local news, Viewpoint, more Colorado gun laws equal more unnecessary death. Local news, Pueblo announces return of plastic recycling at Pueblo Recycle Works. Local news, city installs new electric vehicle chargers. Gold, the Swiss Army Knife of Investing by Ronald S. Phillips, author of 2 books, teacher, and trusted columnist. Observations from the Cave by James R. Grasso. Local news, Viewpoint, more Colorado gun laws equal more unnecessary death. Colorado City/Rye. In case you don't think there are enough laws on the books, Colorado lawmakers approved 525 of the 705 bills that were introduced in the 2024 session. That is the largest amount of bills introduced in 2019, when 721 bills were introduced. Governor Polis signed a total of 519 of those bills into law. 8 of those bills, signed and becoming law, had to do with the tightening of Colorado's gun statutes. Colorado already has the 12th strictest gun control laws in the United States, but ranks 28th in most gun violence. One of the laws that passed, beginning on July 1st, 2025, increased the requirements for concealed carry permit training. 8 hours of instruction is required by House Bill 1174, along with live fire tests of at least 50 live rounds. Passing the live fire test and a written exam will be mandatory to get concealed carry permit. That law is one that actually may help. Gun sellers will need to charge more for guns because, as of July 1st, 2025, they will be required to obtain a state permit that costs $400 and be subjected to random and regular inspections. This is part of House Bill 1353. The same bill will require employee background checks and training to identify people trying to purchase guns illegally. Employees must report anyone who tries to make an illegal purchase within 48 hours. And last but not least, the measure will require gun stores to lock up their firearms. To also up the cost of guns under HB 1349, Colorado voters will be asked in November to impose a 6.5% excise tax on firearms, gun parts, and ammunition sold in the state. The estimated $39 million annually would go to crime victims, schools, and behavioral health problems. The bill does not specifically state whether any of the legislators who passed the bill could qualify for behavioral health money. Colorado would join California, which is the only state currently that imposes an excise tax on guns and ammunition. We always wanted to grow up and be like California, right? The federal government imposes an 11% excise tax on firearms and ammunition. HB 1122 was a bipartisan effort which requires people who are subject to a temporary domestic violence restraining order to relinquish their guns and ammunition and prevents them from purchasing more guns and ammunition while the order is in effect. Although the bill looks good to both parties, like the other gun control bills, it will require people to obey the bill. One of the Senate's contributions was Senate Bill 3, which authorizes the Colorado Bureau of Investigation to probe gun crimes, including the illegal purchase of firearms. The bill sends the CBI $1.5 million, which they will hire 10 employees beginning on July 1st, which is the start of the new fiscal year. The other Senate contribution, Senate Bill 131, added the Colorado Capitol courthouses, child care facilities, K-12, schools, colleges, and polling locations to the list of places where the open or concealed carry of a firearm is prohibited. The bill opens up these areas to mass shootings. An early introduction of the bill also included bars, sporting events, and amusement parks, so you know that will continue to be an area of expansion of gun laws. Let me be clear, I am not opposed to any of these laws if everyone followed them, but they do not. People who obey the law follow the gun laws. People who break the law and desire to harm someone do not obey the law. So basically, what the laws do is get law-abiding people to leave their guns at home and contribute to the number of sitting ducks when people who don't obey the law show up with their guns. My guess is that by next year, we will move up the charts of toughest gun laws and move up the chart of most gun violence, and that means more lives will be lost than need to be. Terry Kraus is the owner and publisher of the local newspaper, Greenhorn Valley View. The paper primarily serves Colorado City and Rye. They can be reached at 719-214-3509 or at editor@greenhornvalleyview.com. Their website is greenhornvalleyview.com. Local news. Pueblo announces return of plastic recycling at Pueblo Recycle Works. Pueblo. The city of Pueblo is pleased to announce that starting on Friday, July 5th, 2024, Pueblo Recycle Works will resume accepting certain plastic waste items from residents. This comes as a result of successful negotiations with recycling vendors after a temporary halt in accepting plastics earlier this year. Plastic recycling resumption details. Effective July 5th, Pueblo Recycle Works will accept clear number 1 plastics. This includes clear bottles and jars made from polyethylene terephthalate, PET, PET. These items are commonly found as soda bottles, water bottles, and certain food jars. However, the following plastics will not be accepted at this time. Number 1, clamshells and similar containers. Despite being made from the number 1 PET, these items often pose recycling challenges due to their shape and potential contamination. Colored number 1 plastics. Any number 1 plastic items that are colored will not be accepted. Other plastics. Other types of plastics such as number 2 HDPE, number 5 PP, and others remain outside the scope of accepted materials for now. The city of Pueblo is actively working to expand Pueblo Recycle Works' plastic recycling capabilities and will keep residents informed as progress continues in this area. The goal is to restore a full range of recycling services as soon as possible. How to stay informed. Residents are encouraged to stay updated on the latest recycling guidelines and accepted materials by visiting the Pueblo Recycle Works webpage at www.pueblo.us/recycleworks. The webpage is regularly updated with the latest information on what materials are currently being accepted at the recycling center. For additional information, residents can also contact Pueblo Recycle Works directly at 719-553-2748. The City of Pueblo would like to extend our sincere gratitude to the residents of Pueblo for their patience and understanding during the recent disruption of our recycling services, says Director of Public Works Andrew Hayes. The commitment of our community to sustainable practices is invaluable, and we are dedicated to providing comprehensive recycling solutions to support these efforts. About Pueblo Recycle Works. Pueblo Recycle Works is a community recycling center dedicated to promoting sustainability and waste reduction in the city of Pueblo. Offering a range of services, the center accepts various recyclable materials and provides residents with a convenient and responsible option for waste management. Pueblo Recycle Works is located at 1595 Stockyard Road. The city of Pueblo was established in 1842, incorporated in 1870, and is proudly called the Home of Heroes. Local news. City installs new electric vehicle chargers. Pueblo. The city of Pueblo installed 2 new publicly accessible electronic vehicle, EV, charging stations and 2 new EV chargers to meet the needs of city fleet vehicles. The Level 2 dual-port beam EV ARC charging stations are provided through a rebate provided by the U.S. Department of Energy's Energy Efficiency and Conservation Block Grant, EECBG. This program is to increase access for public use and for internal use by the city of Pueblo. We are excited to introduce 2 additional Level 2 EV chargers for public use with these ChargePoint chargers that were recently installed, said Energy Efficiency Coordinator of the city of Pueblo, George Andrews. Making EV chargers more accessible and readily available to the public is imperative as we see more EVs on the road, including our fleet here at the city of Pueblo. One of the publicly available Beam EV ARC charging stations is located in the parking lot located at Main Street and Allen Hamill Drive, called Sunchaser, in the ChargePoint app adjacent to City Hall and the Senior Resource Development Agency, SRDA. The other new charger, located off of Victoria Avenue and West Riverwalk, near the parking lot of the Vale Hotel of the Housing Authority of Pueblo, is called River Recharge in the ChargePoint app. The 2 new Beam EV ARC chargers are off-grid units, complete with solar panels to assist with their charging capabilities. Additionally, each EV charger is movable, which can increase access in the other areas of the city when necessary or meet the needs of high-density events. Both new public charging stations are part of the no-cost to the public charging station initiative through September of 2024. All EV chargers in city limits, 10 in total, including the 2 public-facing newly installed stations, are currently at no cost for public use. The city of Pueblo also has over 20 electric vehicles in use with the Pueblo Police Department, multiple trucks with parks and recreation, and an EV for use within the fleet department. Pueblo Public Works and other departments are expected to receive new EV vehicles to update their fleet needs in the coming months. Additional departments currently utilize hybrid vehicles when possible if EV vehicles do not currently meet their needs for use. The city of Pueblo currently has a total of 5 city-managed chargers, which are not designated for public use but for charging city-owned EVs. Of the 5 total EV chargers for city-owned fleet vehicle use, 4 are Level 2 chargers and 1 is a Level 3 charger. In addition to the city of Pueblo's installation of the new EV chargers in the community, the city is preparing for an electric vehicle readiness plan questionnaire. The questionnaire was expected to launch the week of June 17th. Gold. From Finance, The Swiss Army Knife of Investing by Ronald S. Phillips, author of 2 books, teacher and trusted columnist. For the record, I used to avoid gold and recommending it to clients. We had 11 straight up years in gold and metals. It was an obvious bubble. I wrote about the bubble and the bubble did pass. But gold is a useful tool. Like this classic Swiss Army knife, gold is a multi-purpose, surprisingly useful gadget. It diversifies our portfolio, is a doomsday safety asset, can provide income, and also has solid performance. Some gold history. Gold is a romantic metal. It's pushed us to explore new lands, hatched legends and myths, caused wars and bloodshed, is global, and has built empires. It also goes well with any outfit, and of course, you don't shoot for the bronze, you go for the gold. The earliest known loose gold was discovered in Spanish caves and dates to 40,000 BC. Gold artifacts were found in Bulgaria from 4600 BC. Gold has been used as currency for about 2,600 years, even up to the present and new things like goldbacks. We have had gold rushes from the mid-1800s until the recent rush that produced countless "We Buy Gold" commercials. Gold has history, and gold is here to stay. People like the shiny metal. Performance. Gold works hard. In the past 5 years, it's been a laggard, but many things have lagged the NASDAQ and stocks, mainly because those stock assets have done so extremely well. But according to Statista, since 1971, the price of gold has appreciated 7.98% every year. Again, solid performance. As an investor, this is pretty compelling. Gold can diversify. Of course, this is what I like about it, being an advisor. As an example, we're in the middle or tail end, depending on your thinking, of a bull market. But 2022 was still a bad year for the stock market. The S&P 500, using the SPDR S&P 500 ETF, symbol SPY, was down over 18%. Gold was basically flat. It was down less than 1%. So gold did its multi-purpose job that year and gave a much better performance than the stock market. But what about up times? So far this year, the market is up over 15%. Gold shares, using SPDR Gold Shares, symbol GLD, is up almost 13%. Close to the market. Once again, very solid numbers. The science of investing bears this out. If we look at correlation, gold moves differently than the markets in bad times and moves up usually during good times. This is summed up by the World Gold Council. Gold provides diversification in a portfolio and is often correlated with the stock market during risk-on periods, while it decouples and becomes inversely correlated during periods of stress. Check out the chart with this article. You'll see the price movements of the stock market and gold shares. Gold outperformed and moved differently for about 5 years early on. Then it correlated with the upswing in the stock market, going along for the ride. Doomsday asset. What's a doomsday asset? That is what I and many others consider the very few assets investors run to in extremely bad markets. Think of times like the 2008 and 2009. What did folks do? The classic flight to safety asset, treasury bonds, of course. T-bonds spiked in price by 48% as the market went down in half. An extreme move into safety and out of risk assets. Many people also tend to run to the US dollar and, gold and other precious metals. Buying gold, lots of ways. Bullion, coins, jewelry, exchange-traded funds, mutual funds, stocks, quasi-currencies. Check, 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 and check. You can use any of these ways. For simplicity, I prefer the SPDR Gold Shares. Easy to buy, easy to sell, and you can even get a bit creative with that too. Gold pretty much just sits there. It usually costs money to buy, hold, and to sell it. For mutual funds, you have an annual internal fee too, but there are ways to make significant income from it too. The strategy is somewhat sophisticated and a bit too involved to go into here. Reach out to me if you have any questions on this. The SPDR GLD shares are also the most widely held paper gold investment, with the highest assets of $62 billion and the highest daily trading volume. 8 million shares trade daily on average. Use wisely. As with all investing ideas, part of your research, and use gold wisely and sparingly, if at all. Maybe this asset will help you with your own personal gold rush. This article is for illustrative purposes only. Ron is not recommending any investment security for you, but just trying to educate the community. Investments can and do drop in value. They have no bank or other guarantee. He is licensed and regulated by the great state of Colorado. Ron Phillips is the investment income advisor, a Pueblo, Colorado native, and an independent business owner. Order a free copy of his book, Investing to Win, by leaving a message at 719-220-3005. Visit retireiq.com or email ronphillipsadvisor@gmail.com. Observations from the Cave by James R. Grasso, former chief cook and bottle washer. How's everybody doing? No matter what, think positive thoughts and stay busy. Maybe pray for another. Here's some good news I found. A guy named Dale Schroeder grew up poor in Iowa, never married, had no children, and worked as a carpenter at the same company for 67 years and only owned 2 jeans. He spent his life savings to send 33 students to college. 2 jeans? A group of women named the 9 Nanas kept a secret for decades that not even their husbands knew. For 30 years, they met at 4 a.m. and anonymously paid bills and bought clothes for people in need. Each care package came with a homemade pound cake and a note that read, "Somebody loves you. Sound sleeping husbands." Syndrome K was a fake disease made up by Italian doctors to save Jews who had fled to their hospitals seeking protection from the Nazis. They were quarantined, and the Nazis believed it was a deadly, disfiguring, and highly contagious illness. Many thanks. Actor Steve Buscemi was a New York City firefighter from 1980 to 1984. The day after the 9/11 attacks in New York City, he returned to his old firehouse to volunteer. He worked 12-hour shifts for several days alongside other firefighters searching for survivors in the rubble of the World Trade Center. Apparently, Dolly Parton has a program that will mail your child/grandchild/great-grandchild a free age-appropriate book once a month from birth to age 5. No obligation, no catch. She just wants to make sure that every child has books. A middle school in Dallas organized a Breakfast with Dad event and then realized that some students lacked father figures. So the school made a Facebook post asking for 50 volunteers. The next morning, 600 men showed up to help out. Mr. Rogers personally answered his fan mail. A 5-year-old blind girl once wrote to him and asked him when he was feeding his fish because she was worried about them and couldn't see. From that moment on, every time he fed the fish, he said it out loud. Doodlebug, an orphaned kangaroo, was found abandoned on the side of the road when he hopped up to a human, held up his arms, and asked if he could be picked up. His rescuer later gave him a teddy bear, and he wouldn't stop hugging it. After needing 13 liters of blood for surgery, at the age of 13, a man named James Harrison pledged to donate once he turned 18. It was discovered that his blood contained a rare antigen that cured rhesus disease. He made over 1,000 donations throughout his lifetime and saved over 2.4 million babies from the condition. Dr. Barry Marshall was convinced that H. pylori bacteria caused stomach ulcers, but no one believed him. Since it was illegal to test his theory on humans, he drank the bacteria himself, developed ulcers within days, treated them with antibiotics, and went on to win a Nobel Peace Prize. Well, folks, the world is not as bad as the media makes it out to be, it seems. Take these creatures of doom and gloom with their doomsday proclamation with the famous grain of salt. Sleep well, knowing that there is a higher power watching over us. Speaking of a higher power, please remember to send me an email for the pamphlet that shows you how to make heaven. Send for a free copy of the Chaplet of Mercy to srbeacon@gmail.com. giving me your name and address, and I'll pop it in the mail the next day. No gimmicks, no strings, just a magnificent way to prayer for your well-being and the well-being of others, in Jesus' own words.